I'm Joy Kelly. Welcome to Cook with Joy. This is my cooking show. It's my favorite cooking show, and I hope it's becoming your favorite cooking show.
Always been my favorite cooking show.
I know. I really appreciate that about you, Derek. Every episode, we try to bring you something new and exciting, and this episode is no different. This is a new recipe to me. I've never made it before. I've been wanting to make it for a long time. I grew up in the Midwest, and Stroganoff always seemed so fancy to me. I never really had it. I don't think I've ever had Stroganoff in my life. But I ran across this recipe on the web under simplyglutenfree.com, and I've wanted to make it for the last 3 seasons. This is our 3rd season of Cook with Joy, and I'm finally gonna make it. I've never tried it, so you guys are gonna make this along with me.
Finally.
Are you ready to go?
Let's do it.
All right. First thing we're gonna do is get a pan super hot, and we're gonna put about 2 tablespoons of olive oil in it. And it's going to get really hot, smoking hot is what it said. So I want to get that smoking hot. And then we're going to add the mushrooms. Mushrooms are awesome for us. They're really high in chromium, which helps so many functions in our body. They're high in vitamin D. There's just a ton of things that mushrooms do for us. And there's a wide variety of them out there. This recipe calls for shiitake mushrooms, which are these, and also portobello mushrooms. And maybe you've seen portobello mushrooms. They're commonly used as a substitute for burgers, for example. You can get a portobello mushroom burger or a portobello mushroom steak. And also the little baby creminis that you see, those are actually portobellos as well. A lot of people don't know that. But just like all the varieties of things, every variety of mushroom does something different for you, and I'll write more about that in my blog, so look for that at cookwithjoy.com. Now we want to get this oil smoking hot, so I can see that it's really almost getting there, and then we're going to add the mushrooms and let them saute. Do you hear that sizzle?
Oh, I like that sound.
That's how we know that it's smoking hot. Okay. I feel like I need a bigger saucepan for this. I might have to do this in batches. Okay, so I'm supposed to keep cooking these until they start to release a little bit of liquid, and I see that they are. One thing I see that we have to manage is this high heat, not having them burn to the bottom of the pan. So you're really going to have to continuously stir them. I'm going to add a little bit of salt, because salt often helps the mushrooms to release a little bit of that liquid. And then I'm going to also add some pepper, just to balance out the flavors. So I really like how these chunks look, and I see that this is, simulating the look of the beef that would normally be in a stroganoff. And I'm not quite sure how far to cook them down because I don't think we want them to get too soft. So I think that I am going to take them off and set them aside right now. Okay, so I'm going to add these back to the bowl that I took them out of. Yay. And that pan is still smoking. Wow. One of these seasons I'm going to do a thing with liquid smoke that I learned up in Canada. And it's amazing the flavor that you can add to something just by adding this little product. All right, let's put that back on. The heat's still high. I'm going to lower it a little bit, and I'm going to add a little bit more olive oil. Just a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to add some chopped onions that I've chopped ahead of time. This is just 1 onion, and I'm going to add that to this already. It's such a hot pan, it feels like I've been cooking meat in it. And I'm going to get those nice and brown.
Translucent?
It doesn't say translucent, but that's a good question, and I know you like that word now. You think you're fancy. It does not say that they need to be translucent. It just says cook until they soften and start to brown. It says about 5 minutes, but I don't think it's going to take that long. I've said this before in a lot of my episodes, but onions are such a great addition to any vegan dish because they add so much flavor, they add so much nutrition, the quercetin. A lot of people are taking CoQ10 supplements. All you need to do is add a ton of onions to your diet, and you're going to get all the CoQ10, which is quercetin, that you need. These are looking really nice. I think one of the keys is to keep them moving and to not let them just sit there. And then we're going to add about 3 tablespoons of garlic when these are just a little bit softer and a little bit browner.
You love garlic.
I do love garlic, but what I really like, and this is interesting, Derek, I was vegetarian all through college, probably because I didn't have any money and it's expensive to not be a vegetarian. But I became a vegan in 2006 when my mother died of ovarian cancer. And she'd had a really healthful life, but we grew up in the Midwest and she ate animal products at every meal. And it was a real aha to me about that how could this woman that was so health conscious die of ovarian cancer? She was 79, so she had a pretty good life, but I just really thought she would outlive me. She would get up in the morning and work out with Jack LaLanne and make us some kind of, hot cereal. Bulgur was one of her favorite. We used to call it bulgur. But that's when I adopted a vegan diet, and I didn't even know what to eat, how do you make anything? And what I learned was that if you started with a base of garlic and onions, you could make anything taste good. Because, think about it. If you look at a frozen chicken, you don't lick your lips and say yum. But when you start smelling onions and garlic, that's what you really love. It's that flavor. And so if you can add that to the dish to start out with, you're doing really well. Now I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of garlic that I've cut up ahead of time and measured, so I don't have to do it again. And yes, I do love garlic, not just because it tastes great, but also because it's great for you. And we're going to stir that in a little bit. And then what does it say to do next, Derek? I should have a teleprompter.
Add lemon.
I think, no, there's no lemon in this one. Okay, so add the garlic and cook for another minute, which is great. That heat is really high. I don't usually cook at this high of heat, but I'm following their directions. Is stroganoff a German meal?
Absolutely.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
How do you know that?
Because I'm Bavarian.
Are you?
Yeah.
What does it mean to be Bavarian?
You're from Germany.
Well, but it's a certain part of Germany, right?
I don't
It's not
know.
like all of Germany is Bavaria, is it?
I don't think so.
I don't think it is. Okay, so now we have to add the mushrooms back along with any juices that have accumulated. So I'm adding those back in. Don't you guys love learning this with me?
I feel smarter because we're doing this.
Do you?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, and then it says that we need to add some soy sauce, and it's 2 tablespoons of gluten-free soy sauce, which is also known as tamari. And I like to use low sodium tamari. I'm going to turn this heat down just a little bit because it feels like it's getting really, really hot. All right, so I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of the tamari. All right, I should probably be careful of this paper so I don't set it on fire. That would not be a funny disaster. That would be a pretty intense disaster. So 2 tablespoons of the tamari. And I don't always measure things exactly, but things that have salt and a flavor like that, I really like to. And then we're going to add 2 tablespoons of sherry. Now the recipe calls for sherry, vermouth, or cognac, and it says it's also optional if you don't want to add the alcohol, but why wouldn't you want to add the alcohol?
Does it burn it off or is it in there?
It's going to burn off, but there are a lot of people who don't drink at all and they don't even want to have it even with the alcohol burned off. So you don't have to have it, but when I think of stroganoff, and like I said, I don't think I've ever really had stroganoff in my life, but it always sounded so fancy to me. And sherry always seems like that's what must make it really fancy. Okay, so now I'm supposed to cook this until all the liquid has evaporated. So I'm working on that. I better turn the heat up just a little bit. All right. So I think that's what the high heat is all about, is making the liquid evaporate, because I think if you cook at a low heat, that the mushrooms are just going to keep releasing liquid, and we're never going to get rid of the liquid. So I'm continuing to do that. We need to add a 1/2 cup of veggie broth. And once again, I'm using a low sodium veggie broth. You can choose to use salt afterwards if you like, but I think it's just smart to go with a low sodium because everybody has different needs and we get so much sodium from processed food. And I know I've told you this before, so Derek, you should know this.
1 milligram per calorie.
That's right. So if it has 100 calories, it's 100 milligrams of sodium that you're looking for. And we're going to get that stirred in a little bit. Now we're going to add the onions, and I've never used frozen baby onions before. This calls for a cup of them.
Why frozen?
I have no idea why frozen. It says to thaw them, so I don't know. Maybe they're just not available otherwise. I mean, I never look. I suppose the only other way they sell these is like cocktail onions, and you wouldn't want to put cocktail onions in them. But it seems kind of interesting. So we've got baby onions in here. We're stirring those around, and they're not quite thawed. And then lower the heat to low. And then the last piece that turns this into the stroganoff, right, is...
Noodles.
Well, you could use noodles, but you could also use rice, and we're going to use rice. I've done a couple of shows with noodles in this episode, haven't I? Or at least one. I did the lasagna.
Minestrone.
And the minestrone had noodles in it, so we're going to use rice in this dish. And you could serve it over anything, but I'm going to use rice. I used rice for another dish in this series, so I think I'll keep that. And we'll add some rice. And then we're going to add this vegan, gourmet, dairy-free sour cream.
We're going to add 1 cup?
We're going to add 1 cup of this dairy-free cream cheese. I'm sorry, sour cream. And this is 12 ounces, so I'm going to do all but 4 ounces of it. So it's going to be, what's the ratio of that? Derek, help me out here.
8 to 12?
Yeah, I'm doing 8 and I'm leaving 4, so that should be about right. Okay.
75%.
75%. There we go. So 3/4, right? I'm going to take my bracelet off because this is burning up.
It's 2/3.
2/3?
2/3. 8 to 12 is 2/3. 67%.
67%. Okay, you're right. You're right. Half would be 6. So 3/4 would be, no, 3/4 would be 8. 3/4 would be 8.
No.
Yeah. A third of 12. Oh, right. Okay, you're right. I was a biology major. I didn't have to take much math, you can tell. Okay, so we added the sour cream, and then we're going to turn that down to low while we let everything get a little bit hot. That really looks like stroganoff, like I would imagine stroganoff to look. Can you get a picture of that?
No.
You can't?
No.
You suck. I'm going to chop up some flat Italian parsley and put over the top to make it really authentic looking. The only thing I'm not sure about this dish are these little baby onions. I don't know about that, but we're going to taste it and see what we think. I'm going to get some chopped parsley. We're going to add that to that, and then we're going to put it over some rice. I'm a little nervous.
It's going to be delicious. It looks amazing.
I think it looks really great. If it looks like we're the whole thing, it would be the whole deal, right?
Because I'm a good cameraman and it looks good.
That's probably why. That's probably why. Nothing to do with me or the recipe. Okay, so 2 tablespoons of chopped parsley. I like to grow my own parsley, and if I don't have it, I will buy it, but I want to keep it alive, so I'm keeping it in water, and that's really going to help it to stay. Parsley has a really strong flavor when it's fresh. When it's not fresh, you really can't smell it. Like if you buy dried parsley in a jar, it doesn't smell like anything, and I don't even know why you'd use it. But here, can you smell that parsley, Derek?
Love it.
It's really,
We need a 4D camera so we can get it.
I know, that would be awesome. Okay, so, well actually we're not going to add it to the top because it says use it as a garnish. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get a little bowl, stay right there, right, but we're going to add some rice to it, to the bowl.
When did you make that rice?
When did I make it?
Yeah.
It's magic, I made it before. I do a lot of magic stuff. Then we're going to add a little bit of the stroganoff on top. I need a better spoon than I have right now. Why do I not have a better spoon than this? Let's use a ladle, because I want to get all this sour cream stuff. I think that's what's going to make it really be awesome, is the sour cream and the mushrooms. Derek, I think you're going to like this.
I love mushrooms. Did I say that already?
Yeah, you did. You did. I wonder how you like these little baby onions, though. Then we're going to put a little bit of this parsley over the top. It might need a little more salt and pepper. I'm not quite sure. But you can try it, Derek, and let me know what you think. It looks beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah? So you want to give it a try?
Heck yeah.
Let's put a little more liquid in there. I think the liquid is kind of key, even though it kept saying to burn it off. Okay, let's give it a try. I hope you tried this recipe, and I hope you let me know what you think about it. If you like it, if you don't like it, what changes you think we should make, and any suggestions that you have about future episodes that we do on Cook with Joy. But whatever you do, please share this video with someone that you love and care about, and tune in for next week's episode of Cook with Joy.